Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Doom Productions podcast, the podcast hosted by Doom Productions. I'm Ethan.
And I'm Jordan.
And we have a question that needs to be answered. And this is something that, frankly, some people might agree on and some might disagree on. But we just have to know, is Hollywood dead?
Well, I think, what does that question mean? Because we've heard that question asked a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I think everybody has. But when people ask that question, what does it mean? So I think we should first, what does that mean to us? When we hear that, what does that question mean? I think of in two ways. I think of it as a filmmaker and as a viewer, as an audience member.
Yeah.
But the question itself is Hollywood dead? As a viewer, that means, to me, that question asks, is Hollywood no longer producing quality content?
Yeah.
As a filmmaker, it means, is it now no longer a viable route to become a filmmaker?
Yeah.
Is it like a dead end?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's, I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, but is that kind of where your head is at too?
That's that exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Because I definitely think that, there's probably also a business sense of monetarily, how is Hollywood doing? Which I'm not a business person.
I couldn't tell you.
I know enough. What I know is Twitter headlines and skimming articles from Vanity Fair and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you for sure. I guess well, before we were filmmakers, we were audiences first and foremost. So do we think that Hollywood has stopped producing quality content?
Yeah.
You go first.
Short answer, no.
Why?
Long answer, no-int. Why? I mean, let's put one thing clear. This is not me saying every Hollywood movie is also a ballpark hit. Mm-hmm. There's so much range in the quality that any movie can come.
Well, also, too, just to interrupt you, quality is not measurable when it comes to movies.
Exactly.
It's all subjective. So this is from our point of view.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly where I was heading with it, is just the fact that even the movies that I enjoy and I think are quality, you might think are the worst pieces of filth to ever grace the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And we're both right.
Mm-hmm.
It's all subjective. So with that lens, it's just a matter of Hollywood is always making movies that are good and they're always making movies that are bad. And that's how it's been since the very beginning.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed in the sense, people will talk about this. I feel also goes with music a lot, where people will talk about, so this thing, particularly I'm just gonna use music as an example. Music was so much better back then. Mm-hmm. But I feel a lot of those hits, or the music that people will point to, or the albums that they'll point to as great albums, a lot of that just comes to the fact that so much time has passed between when that album was produced and now. All of the kind of bad music or things that didn't become popular or didn't take off kind of fell away into the void where no one remembers it.
We only remember...
And we remember the great stuff that came out from that era.
We only remember Star Wars. We don't remember the movie that came out the same month as Star Wars. Because I'm sure there was a movie that came out that same month.
Yeah. And that's just how it goes. The cream of the crop rises. The best stuff becomes the most memorable. But yeah, like you said, who... Everyone remembers, going way back, there's guys like Buster Keaton. Who were the other filmmakers working around Buster Keaton that he considered his colleagues that just weren't as successful, that didn't make those big movies?
Yeah.
I'm sure historians and people who care about documenting that stuff know them, but to general audiences, there's Buster Keaton, and that's the silent era in a nutshell, or Charlie Chaplin, those two guys. And anything from there, it's just, there's nothing else that exists as far as general audiences are concerned.
Yeah, I think when it comes to, I think I agree with that. because I to an extent I will agree that there is a lot of films that I'm not particularly interested in, films that I don't really enjoy or wouldn't go see coming out of Hollywood today, but there's still amazing stuff being produced in Hollywood. I mean, let's be real here. Studios like A24 or Netflix or any other what industry folks consider to be outside, quote unquote, that's still a part of the industry.
Oh yeah.
I guess when we say Hollywood, we don't mean necessarily LA exclusive. I think we mean as a whole the film industry of America for the most part.
Western film industry.
But A24, I think they're in New York, so.
Yeah. Well, Western
world.
Oh,
yes. I thought you meant... Okay.
Not West Coast.
Yes.
Western world.
Yes. So
Continental United States.
Yes. So looking at like places like A24, studios like that, which those movies I think on average are pretty well, critically they're pretty well received.
Yeah.
Like I think when you talk to film people, they're like, oh yeah, that's what a good movie is. Like they're making movies that are being nominated for Oscars and going to the Cannes Film Festival. Overall, critics generally really enjoy A24 movies. And those are that's still a part of Hollywood. I mean, it uses Hollywood actors. Hollywood people are working on the movie. They might not be A-list directors, but, they're being funded by the industry and through the industry and through all those connections. It's all a part of the same ecosystem, that studio filmmaking.
Yeah.
And I guess Netflix, and when I say Netflix, I mean like also like other streaming services too, like Amazon. They produce their own stuff as well. And both Netflix and Amazon and what are the other streaming services? Hulu, HBO. They've all produced their own TV shows and movies that have received, critical acclaim in one way or another. Again, that's not what... I'm not saying that every Hollywood studio or system, or every Hollywood studio has created something amazing. But I think, there's still, like... If I go to my Letterboxd, for example, just for me, my personal taste, if I go to the movies that I watched last year, I watched not as many as I usually watch, to be honest, but I did watch a good mixture of Hollywood movies and like actually independent movies. Let's see. I saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Sorry, I'm just counting. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. I saw about 25 new released movies, which were Hollywood, produced by Hollywood. I could probably say, without having to recount and go do everything again, I could honestly tell you I enjoyed most of those. I probably enjoyed, really loved, at least 17 or 18 of those movies. For me, there's some people... We were talking with a friend about this recently. His buddy only watches romantic comedies. And what was the other thing?
I don't remember.
Wait, who was it? We were talking to our friend's wife only watches romantic comedies or Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
And we were kind of saying, well, there's nothing wrong with either of those movies. It would be a shame to limit yourself to just that and only watch that. And I think for us, which might be a little bit different from other people, when we go to a Hollywood movie, we expect to see a Hollywood movie. That's not to say we don't enjoy independent movies or smaller little movies, but we enjoy all sorts of movies. It's all a part of, why we love movies. We love big movies and small movies.
It's a full meal.
Yeah.
To enjoy all of it. It's
Yeah.
not limiting yourself to just dessert or
Yeah.
just breakfast. We want the whole thing.
Yes. And so, where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. So, when I saw, with all the movies that I saw last year, I think maybe this could be a reason why some people feel like Hollywood is dead, is they go into like a big blockbuster movie expecting something, I don't know, expecting like a Terrence Malick movie,
Yeah.
or like a Darren Aronofsky movie, or
The thing that comes to my mind is when people, probably rightfully so in some regards, but where they like just rip apart things like Transformers for not having like deep storyline.
yeah.
But I'm always like, man, I just want to watch a truck blow up some like other
Yeah.
trucks and like some planes and they're aliens. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like expectations could certainly be a part of it, where we like, I think we're, I don't know, pretty forgiving, probably more than most people,
Yeah.
about like separating, or I guess checking our expectations at the door, or I guess managing our expectations might be a bit better word, because again, I didn't have a problem with most of the Hollywood movies that I saw,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I knew what I was getting into when I signed up for it, like, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's more enjoyable to watch movies that way, where you do kind of leave your expectation. I mean, obviously, especially if it's movies that you're anticipating, it's hard to do that sometimes. But I don't know. I think movies became a lot more enjoyable when I started consciously like, and now it's less conscious and it just kind of is the habit that I'm in. But when I go to see a movie, I take off like my expectations and I kind of just, I say yes to what the director is leading me to, even if it's a movie that in the end, like, I'm not over the moon about, or if it's like, oh, I would have done something different. I think a movie, it's so much more enjoyable to watch the movie through the filmmaker's perspective, or what they were trying to do, and not what I wish the movie was doing. I think that's when movies stop becoming enjoyable, when I start trying to impose what I want on it.
Yeah.
I think that, movie watching for me got so much better after that change that I made. That was years ago, but
Yeah.
it's just been up since then.
With films as a viewer, I mean, if someone asked me, is Hollywood dead? I mean, we'd say no. If they say why, I mean, I guess you could listen to our last podcast episode where we talked about our favorite movies of last year, but like, Green Knight, like, that's a fantastic movie, still made by Hollywood, still made by the big studio system.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you put as soon as you look at the budget and it's in the millions, to me, like, that's pretty much Hollywood.
That's Hollywood.
And I guess unless, Bill Gates decided to fund his own quote unquote independent movie, wherever with $1 million. But I mean, that's beside the point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's some clear examples. There's some great films that have been produced by Hollywood in the last few years. I mean, Green Knight, I loved so much. First Reformed, Paul Schrader. Silence, Martin Scorsese.
Silence was fantastic.
Silence was a great movie. I mean,
Justice League.
I mean, that, yeah.
It goes without saying. I had to bring it up.
We loved it.
Move on.
And filmmakers, what's funny to me is film people who advocate that film is dead, or that Hollywood is dead. They'll bring up directors like Tarantino and Nolan and Denis Villeneuve, as if they're like, not a part of Hollywood, but they totally are. Hollywood gave us those directors. All the big film people that you can think of, like the movie brats from the 70s and the newer people as well. They all made careers and made their movies in Hollywood.
And more so, they moved the industry forward, usually leaps and bounds. That those are all kind of trademark moments within Hollywood. It feels like those are big moments, not trademark moments. I can't think of the word I was thinking of there.
Hallmark moments.
Hallmark moments. I'll take it. I don't know.
Innovating and creating more interesting work for film for us to enjoy.
Yeah.
But I think we can go in circles about this.
Yeah.
I feel like by this point, but no, I don't think we don't think film is dead, because again, it is it's a situation where we're not looking for films to be one thing. Yet, do I wish that there were a different variety of movies being produced by Hollywood? Yes, but at the same time, I think a lot of those movies do exist to an extent in Hollywood. To an extent, like there's just certain things Hollywood is not going to give you. They're not going to give you a lot of diversity. They're not going to give you
crazy experimental.
But I mean, the studios do release quite a bit of movies every year.
Yeah.
Like big releases. There's stuff that falls under the radar. Like I just heard of this smaller one called The Novice. And, I saw the preview and that looked really good. I need to check that out. I don't know how I didn't see that. And I think it's a smaller movie, but it's still like made by a studio, I believe. Okay. So it's something, just to say that, I mean, I feel like I'm rambling, but I guess I'll close my point by saying, when you say that when I hear people say that Hollywood is dead or that they only make one type of movie, I mean, those are the big movies that you're talking about. You're talking about Spider-Man, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Transformers. That's an old series. When was the last time a Transformers movie was made, though?
Bumblebee.
That was like 2017. Wasn't it? Or 2018? 2019?
I never saw it.
It was good, but
I know.
It was a while. But you know what I mean. When people say Hollywood movies, I think they think blockbusters. But
Dune.
There also exists a realm of dramas and comedies and all sorts of other movies that, yes, they not as much money is being poured into them. Doesn't mean that they don't exist. Doesn't mean that those blockbusters can't be great blockbusters. So as a viewer, Hollywood, they haven't,
Yeah.
I know what to expect from Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's creatively or entertainment-wise, I don't think it's devoid of value yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one day that day might come, but as long as there's, movies like, I don't know, Encanto or Dune or In the Heights, again, just listing some of my favorites from last year. As long as those movies are still being made, I mean, there's just certain things you can't do on a small scale.
Yeah.
Because that's another reason why I'm not really rooting for Hollywood to die necessarily in terms of the kinds of movies that are being made to an extent. There's so much nuance in all this, but I mean, I love musicals. I'd love to make a musical, but I could never make In the Heights.
Yeah.
I just don't have the resources. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. That thing costed $2 million, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, this is without me checking, I would guess 90 to 115 million. Or will you fact check?
Let's play a game of how much did that movie cost?
Oh, no. It could also have been really cheap shit. Hold on. Let me think.
I'll give you time.
Because there was no huge stars in it. You know what? I'm going to say 70 million.
70 million. Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
It was 55 million.
Oh, no. Okay.
How much do you think it made in the box office?
Oh, it made tons. I'm guessing... Well, no, because it was COVID, too. It did really well, though, I think. I'm going to guess it made 150 million?
43.9 million box office.
43... Oh, it underperformed.
It underperformed.
Dang. I see, my frame of reference for all of this is pre-COVID numbers.
Yeah.
Of, imagining, it. There's also, when it comes to box office these days, what people don't talk about is the streaming deals as well.
Yeah.
Because something like, not to keep bringing up Justice League, I'm sure it's annoying to people, but people say, so if you didn't know, Justice League, when they decided to go back and release the Snyder Cut, they spent $70 million on that production. Yeah. They thought, why would they do that? They're not going to make their money back. HBO Max needs to get this many subscribers. People who were saying that were missing the point, because the way that Justice League made money was through foreign distribution deals.
Yeah.
So let's say Sky Movies in the UK wants to show Justice League. Well, they would pay Warner Brothers or HBO Max X amount of dollars to be able to stream that movie in the United Kingdom. And through making those deals, essentially all worldwide, from what I hear, Snyder and his people worked their butts off to get that movie released all over the world at the same time. Through making all those deals, the movie made its money back. The $70 million met. It made all that money. Now, I don't know in the Heights situation, but the box office, people going to the theater during pandemic and all that, 49, what was it, 49?
It was 49, 40, yeah.
47.9.
43.9.
It underperformed box office. But for what we don't know is it could have made a bunch of money back through those worldwide distribution deals.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not a business person. I'm not a film person. This information I'm saying could be totally out of date. So if there's any fact checkers who would like to correct or look into how it's done, please let me know, because I'd actually be fascinated to hear. But from what I understand, that's how it works.
Yeah.
I can't remember how we got onto that topic.
We're talking about money.
Oh, budgets. Yes, there's certain movies that Hollywood can make that we can never make.
Yeah. And that money is used for some crazy innovations still. I mean, I'm excited to see where things like shows like The Mandalorian, where they have technology like the volume.
Yeah.
They're on set, where we're past green screening now.
Yeah.
And it's just the space is there. How great that is for directors and actors and just the whole crew to actually know what they're shooting and to have your look in camera. I think that's super exciting technology, and I'm super stoked to see where that goes in the next couple of years. But also just, I don't know, I think there's a jadedness towards big budget from smaller producers or filmmakers, which sometimes I think is totally valid. But also at the same time, I think it's so great that there is this industry where boatloads of people who want to be a part of these productions have a place to make their living doing that, where they're not having to go from necessarily freelance job to freelance job, but instead they're work. I mean, and obviously
production to
production.
When am I going to get my next gig on a production?
I know it's not quite as elegant as I'm making it in reality from all the production stuff I've done. Just kidding. But there's still like this big industry that is paying people wages, where you're not like, oh, I'll do that video job for $50, like how we've done in the past, where it's like you're scrounging by, it's not livable. I think that's still such a great thing that we're in. Like, there is this industry that people can get into if they want that option.
Yeah. It's also, I mean, it's not without its problems, of course.
And I say that acknowledging that it is not without its problems, and it's definitely not a perfect system.
Yeah. I think the main thing, I mean, the biggest problem with Hollywood, it seems to be, from people who are experts. No, we're not. But from outsiders, the biggest problem seems to be in terms of audience members, like the kinds of movies that are being made, is they're spending tons of money into like big blockbuster movies, way more than they ever did. And
there's no mid budget, low budget.
Yeah, because back in the day, studios would release like 4 or 5 movies a year or so, roughly. They do a comedy, they do a drama, they do an adventure, they do an action, they do a couple different kinds of movies.
And an Oscar award.
An Oscar winner. And those would be their movies for the year.
Yeah.
Nowadays, what they do is they'll release one $250 million movie, and that's for the most part it. And then they will disperse maybe a couple $1 million for smaller productions. And so that middle ground movie has disappeared. And so what that means is there's a lot it's because they're spending so much money on these big productions, there's a lot riding on those productions. So they have to succeed.
Yeah.
Because when one of them fails, then it'll really fail. Then they're out a lot of money. And it's interesting to see how COVID and the situation is kind of maybe not accelerated, but kind of changed the trajectory or affected that situation, because we were kind of already moving towards that. I don't know, I'm sure there's a financial term for it, but we were moving towards that point, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Where one of these, or a couple of these, $250 million movies was going to fail. And I think once COVID hit, studios were very scared of it. That's why they kept pushing it back, because who wants to go see a movie during the pandemic and all that? I can't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, so they're spending all this money on like superhero movies and stuff like that. Someone who likes superhero movies, I don't see a problem. But like if you're not into that, yeah, I can see how it looks like there's only one type of movie. Because could you tell me, for instance, what was a movie last year? Like a big studio movie, like from Warner Brothers or MGM or Paramount or whatever, that wasn't a superhero movie, that wasn't like a sequel or a remake, that was an original IP big movie that came out last year. Could you tell me off the top of your head?
The closest to I can... Well...
From a major studio. I'm not talking A24. I'm not talking Annapurna or...
Last Night in Soho?
Who produced that?
I don't know.
You might be right, actually. You might be right. Let's see.
Is it Last Night in Soho? Final answer?
Technically, it is a British movie.
I know, but it was... I feel like... I don't know.
Distributed by Focus Features.
Okay.
In the United States. Production company. Yeah, these are all British.
Dang it.
But I guess, if we're gonna be
the best I could guess.
If we're gonna be generous and extend it to the, I guess, Western, as you say, yeah. I guess English-speaking film industry, Last Night in Soho, would be definitely contender.
Yeah, that's the best I could think of off the top of my head.
And again, I think that's also a big reason why for me personally, when a movie like Green Knight, I mean, I guess that wasn't a small... Again, I couldn't tell you a good example of like a
mid-tier movie.
An original IP mid-tier movie. Like when one of those movies comes out, I am more compelled to see it because it's like, if I like it and it's good and enough people see it, maybe it'll get a sequel. Maybe
they'll make just more movies like that.
It'll send a message, yes. Kind of that vote with your wallet, or show like, kind of give your support that way. For me personally, not everyone feels the same way, I'm sure, but when Hollywood does something that I agree with, I'll pay to see it. Because again, thousands of people worked on those movies. And if enough people like me are moved by something, and enough people pay for it, and sends that message, then Hollywood, hopefully, they aren't always the smartest people. Hopefully they'll get the idea of, we did something right here, let's do it again. I mean, that's with Tarantino and Edgar Wright and Chris Nolan and Denis Villeneuve. They've kind of made names for themselves as directors, where it's like, we took a chance on you as a filmmaker. Yeah. People like you. You make your money back, so we're going to give you another job. We'll give you another movie because you're reliable as a filmmaker. People like you, and we'll support you. I mean, that's how all those guys got fan bases and all that. Now they're I guess you could make the argument that they're all IPs now of their own.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, yeah, they're pretty much like, everyone knows what their movies kind of look like and what to expect there. But yeah, it's interesting. I guess switching gears to, I guess we've kind of talked a little bit about it, but like the filmmaking aspect of it all as filmmakers.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap up our first thing, I guess.
Yeah.
First point
is as audience.
As an audience, is it dead?
No.
Yeah.
In our opinion.
In our opinion, it's not dead. It's not without its problems, but it's not dead because, again, I mean, some of my favorite movies last year were big Hollywood movies. But yeah, as filmmakers, though, is Hollywood dead? And I guess, should we clarify what kind of filmmakers, maybe?
Yeah, I think that might be good.
Like the auteur, quote unquote. Like,
where we do everything for our movies.
Like, I'm trying to think of someone like George Lucas or Coppola or any like the movie brats from the 70s, or even someone like Chris Nolan, or like, of course, I mean, you're hearing a lot of these same names. That's not because I only think these people exist, but I'm thinking of like the
ones that everyone can recognize.
Yes, everyone, pretty much household names, big filmmakers that you think of when you think Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
is there room, I guess, as a filmmaker, like let's say someone wants to be the next Steven Spielberg or what have you, is that going to happen again? Like in Hollywood? Is that something?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Do you think? Because I don't know. We're outsiders. We don't have enough information. I don't know.
I have no clue. Because it is like, I don't know. Where I see the potential of something like that may be happening. Mm-hmm. And I say this all as someone who doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah. We like to preface everything by saying that.
So I'm welcome to be wrong. And that's fine. I'm happy to be wrong on this. But
we'd rather be open to learning than just proclaimed ourselves as ignorant. And
yes, take everything we say with I might be the dumbest person on earth.
We might be really stupid. Just please correct us rather than just confidently wrong.
Because I look at someone like Joel Haver, dropping the name, I'm saying it, but where he has undoubtedly garnered attention from people who are within this industry, where Joel is doing something so different. Well, he is the person right now that has the biggest audience that's doing this thing that's so different, where he's making his own stuff by himself or with a limited crew, small budget. I feel like if you're an industry and you see enough of this happening, that you keep an eye on it. And if you feel like that's something that's going to make you money or is worth investing into, and those people are receptive. I'm not saying that Joel's about to sell it to Hollywood and all this, by the way. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying.
Well, he's said on multiple times he's not going to do that.
Exactly. But I'm looking at this as a business person, or I'm looking at this as if I was a business. Like, if you're seeing this audience drawn to this person, the stuff they do, if there are other people doing that same thing.
You want to capitalize on it.
So this is basically me saying, Hollywood, if you want to buy out Doom Productions. But that's what I'm saying.
Tens of viewers, or 15 viewers at home.
But you see where I'm going with that, where it's basically, I feel like that is the closest I could pin to something like that happening, where they're bringing in this different generation, new breed of talent, or people, or types of filmmakers. I'm trying to say this all as little arrogance attached to it as possible, since we're a part of this in some small way, shape, or form. So I'm not trying to sound like I think that we should be bought out by Hollywood or something, but I'm just saying there is this different flavor that I feel like echoes some of that rebel 70s, these new filmmakers coming into the scene and kind of shaking things up. Where the internet is this next kind of wild, wild west, where now streaming is this option, instant movies,
and we didn't even talk about streaming as an entertainment, as like an audience member, but that's a whole nother subject and all that.
So all that to say, that very messy explanation with a lot of asterisks and question marks and disclaimers, like, that's the closest I can see from where I'm seated, looking at the situation.
In terms of someone making it big, like becoming a big director, like a viable route, like an auteur, like someone like, that's like what comes to your mind.
That's what comes to my mind. I mean, obviously, like, people who like have family in the industry. Like, I bet, like, you could be some kid brought up in it.
J.J. Abrams, his family was in the industry. Now he's a huge director.
So there's also that. I guess I was thinking more of an outsider looking in, not as someone who's kind of already got a foot in that pool.
That's an important thing, because I think no one starts... Well, okay, people do start out in Hollywood, but most people who want to be directors, I don't think they start out with their foot in the door in Hollywood from birth. I think most of them come from places like Portland, like where we are, Chicago, Florida, where they come from all over, and they're like, I have no connections, I'm in a completely other state, I want to... Let's say you want to be in Hollywood.
Yeah.
How do I do that? I think there's two options that film school teaches you for the most part. One is move to LA, work your way up the whole ladder, become a grip, then move up, become a gaffer, become a cinematographer, move your way up that chain of command. That's one way they tell you to do it. Another way they tell you to do it is to make a film, submit it to as many festivals as you can, get it seen by the right people, get funding for a movie, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
To me, as a filmmaker, that doesn't seem reliable at all.
No.
And maybe it's because I lack the experience. Maybe it's because I don't, maybe I'm a pessimist in that regard. But that to me...
But we've done some of that too.
We have done that. We've done the whole festival thing.
The festival thing quite a bit.
We've gotten some awards from festivals. We've played, we've had that whole thing of submitting and all that. To me, when I look at both of those roads, I don't see the kind of satisfaction and enjoyment that I do as opposed to making your own stuff and kind of trying to create a new system, which is what we see a lot in the YouTube filmmakers, the online filmmakers. I think when we look at, either working your way up the totem pole or working your way, making a film and then getting it seen in the festival circuit, to me, that looks like a lot of like struggle for the chance to maybe pitch your movie to someone.
Or that's not even get it made. That's just pitch.
Or the chance to like direct someone else's movie. Yeah. What I see there is a lack of certainty.
And it's also difficult.
Which I guess is how all dreams are to an extent.
And there's also just the fact that within that system, with submitting a movie to a film festival, hoping that it gets discovered or the right person sees it, if that doesn't happen, that makes the movie, no matter how much you like it, a failure. Yeah. And you have to try something else now. Yeah. And you have to start from ground zero all over. Yeah. And that's just, the thing about this internet filmmaking that's great is the movie just goes online. Yeah. That's its home. That's where it's intended to be. And it's a success just that it got made. Yeah. And I think that if my success and potential dreams rode on the fact that the movies I spend all my time on have to get seen by the right person and take off in a certain way, that puts a lot of pressure on it. And if I don't get that at a certain point, I feel like you're destined to have to quit eventually. I think I found
a way to kind of ignore what you've said. Not because you weren't saying, but kind of answer the question, is Hollywood dead as a filmmaker? I think if you want to be a filmmaker, meaning you are a writer and or director, you want to be in charge of the movie. You want to be the leader, the tastemaker, the person who this movie comes from. This movie could not exist without you. If you want to be that person, I think Hollywood is dead. Yeah. But I think if you want to be working on a movie, there are so many opportunities for jobs, I think. Yeah.
It's a big industry. It's huge.
It's a ginormous industry.
And it's always growing. Again, when we talk about streaming, these streaming platforms are now making their own. They're not outsourcing to Hollywood. They're doing things in-house. Yeah. The industry is constantly growing.
If you just want to be on a movie set or be in a studio, like during pre-production or post-production, there are ample opportunities for you to do that. Yeah. But I think most filmmakers who want to be directors, I don't think that's necessarily a viable option. I mean, it is viable. Of course, everything, there are young directors who are making stuff and who are kind of doing the whole Hollywood game. But to me, I see a lot of time and energy. I would imagine there's a lot of time and energy spent on working on other people's stuff and not enough time working on your own. Because if you're working wonky hours, like 18-hour days for like 2 weeks straight, and then you're not working at all for like a month, or you have these weird wonky hours and you're working a whole ton and you're struggling to find your next gig, and you're probably working a coffee job. If you're doing all that, when are you going to have time to work on your own movies? Now, don't get me wrong. If you love it enough and if you care enough about your kind of craft and your own thing, I bet you'll find the time and make the time. But I think a lot of people would get really burnt out. And something I've talked about before, I can't remember when, is I've said, when you as a no-budget filmmaker are working another job, don't give that job all of your energy.
Yeah.
I've said kind of like, for me, for instance, I go to work 7 hours a day. I don't give that job 100% of my energy. I give it maybe like 50% of my energy. But that's not to say I don't do a bad job. I love my job.
Yeah.
I like what I do. I do give it a lot of energy. But in terms of like my emotional energy, I reserve some of that fuel in my tank for when I get home so I can work on my stuff. Mm-hmm. And the hours at which you are required to work in Hollywood, the weird kind of labor laws that they labor stuff going on down there, I don't see how I personally would have the energy to be able to go work on someone else's set and then come home and work on my own thing. Mm-hmm. I feel like I would fall into a trap of just, now I'm just a cog in the wheel. Now I'm just working for someone else and I'm not really doing my own thing. I'm working my way up to maybe get a chance to do it, but I'm not actually honing my craft. Because then what happens if you got that chance? If you did work your way up the totem pole and you become a director and you've never directed something before, mm-hmm. like maybe back in college or high school you did, and it's like you don't have that hands-on knowledge of making a feature film from a creative, like, narrative standpoint. I mean, there's so much, we know this from experience. There's so much you learn about making your first feature film that nothing can prepare you for it. Same thing with your second feature film and third and fourth and fifth and all that kind of stuff. And I can't imagine jumping into that your first thing being a huge Hollywood gig or whatever.
You need to fail to learn in filmmaking.
And when you're working at that level, you cannot fail.
Yeah. The gun is pointed at your head.
I have seen examples of this kind of where music video directors will turn into feature film directors. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a lot of them, that feature film doesn't do well, and then they don't direct another feature film.
Interesting.
Which is kind of a shame.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think we've said this before, making a movie is a creative risk, don't make it a financial one.
Yeah.
And obviously you have to fail to learn, and when you want to get better at filmmaking, you got to do your own thing. You can't just always be, now it's great from a technical level to be on other people's set and all that, and there is value in that, I think, but it's complicated. And I think if you want to be a filmmaker, you shouldn't be worrying about how do I get a job in Hollywood. You should be worried about what's my next movie going to be, and just make your movie, I think, first and foremost. I don't know how we got on all that. I can't remember the trajectory of any of this.
Is Hollywood dead?
Is Hollywood dead? In short, I mean, if you want to be kind of an auteur, if you subscribe to that idea, auteur director, I would say it would be more beneficial to focus on just making movies yourself.
Yeah.
And getting your name out there and getting seen by people online. Because what's great about the democratization of media and all that is our films are on the same platform as giant Hollywood studios. Mm-hmm. Like, what's a big movie that came out? Encanto. Like, that movie, I bet you can rent it on YouTube Premium.
Yep.
For like $10 or something. On that same platform.
You can watch our movies for free. It's amazing. And I mean, in that same thing, if you have access to a computer or internet, you can go online. If you go online, you can watch the newest, HBO. You can watch White Lotus or Succession, or you can watch Matrix Resurrection, or whatever the newest Matrix was. Can't remember. It starts with an R. I'm pretty sure it's Resurrection.
Resurrections. But you can also see, like, one of our movies, too. You can see Wild Boys 2.
You can see Wild Boys 2.
So, in terms of accessibility, like, you can touch all the same people that Hollywood touched. You can get all your movie out there. That sounded wrong. Sorry. I mean, you can get the same eyes that can see Hollywood stuff can see yours, assuming everyone has a computer.
Yes.
Touch. I don't know why I said touch. I guess emotional touch. Have you seen School of Rock?
Don't get emotional when you do it.
Have you seen?
Yes, I have seen School of Rock.
I love that bit where he's like, he's they found him out and all the
Yeah.
parents are there and the police are going to like arrest him. And he's like, listen, I love your kids. They've touched me and I'm pretty sure I've touched them too. And then all the parents are like horrified. He meant like emotional, like they've affected me, not the other thing. Not what Hollywood actually is known for too. I can confidently say that is the two of us, we've never done any like an ounce of like 1%, like 0.00% amount of horribleness that like the actual Hollywood has done.
The worst things we've ever done for film is trespass.
That's true.
And most of the time it's unintentional.
Yeah, we've accidentally trespassed. Yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah. Another problem with Hollywood, but that's for another episode, another conversation. That's a heavy subject.
Yeah, we are acknowledging but not including that within this discussion.
Yeah.
Because that's just a whole can of worms.
Yeah, the amount of abuse that goes on in Hollywood. I mean, that does pertain to people who want to be filmmakers. Like,
oh, here it comes.
There it comes. No. Well, I think you don't need us to tell you, but Hollywood has a horrible history with horrible track record with abusing people without power.
Yes.
And they're not gonna. I mean, just be careful if that's the route you want to take. But I don't trust it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's one of those things where it's almost too big to clean up.
Yeah. I don't know how you fix it.
I don't know how you fix something that's that deep. I hope there's a way, and I hope that it happens. But it's just, it's horrible.
It's kind of, I've heard that like phrase, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism or whatever. And I think, I don't know who said it, but I think the intention behind it is that like, yes, you can say, oh, Harvey Weinstein did all this, so we're not going to watch any more like Kill Bill movies, or like we're not going to rewatch, Miramax movies, or like I can't think of someone else who's popular. Like this celebrity did this, so I'm not going to see. Oh, like Ansel Elgort, like he did the thing with the teenage girls or whatever. So I'm not going to see West Side Story. That's great, and like if that's how you feel, go for it. And all that. Not saying that you shouldn't or anything, but like that's an example. But that you're also, if that's where you draw the line of like a big name celebrity, there's also like little smaller ways that these big companies are like abusing people that we just haven't heard about.
Yeah.
All the way down to like violating like labor laws and making people work super late, with the way people are treated on set.
Yeah.
Because we've all heard about like the abuse that celebrities receive on sets.
Yeah.
From other celebrities. But imagine how the grips and the PAs were treated on those sets. Like that's even like, that's even more wild. And like I'm sure all these big companies, they probably, I don't know, to an extent, they probably fund like sweatshop workers. Like in some country, they're so big, like it's hard to, I don't know, it's hard to be ethical and in what was it? Capitalism is what they said, or the phrase, which I don't know. That's a whole conversation. I'm not taking a stance one way or another. I'm not condoning or condemning or whatever, but
we're just observing.
Yes, that's a discussion that I'm.
Again, we are not. We're
not philosophers. We're not business people.
We sit down on a couch. We hit record.
Yeah.
We want to be first and foremost on that.
Please.
You're getting the authentic doomed ramble here.
I think what not to try to brag or whatever, not even brag, but like I don't think you'll find us super confident in what we say, but not in a bad way, but like we want to learn.
Yeah.
We're always looking to learn, and learning means failing. And so that means when we hear something and we share it, we might make mistakes, we might misquote the wrong thing. But a lot
of what we say is paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Pretty much all what we say is paraphrasing.
So like if we will always be our authentic selves, and we're always going to be honest, like when a mistake is made, or like when we said something that I don't know, wasn't true or whatever, that we were like, we're always open. Like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Hitting the good disclaimers on this one.
I know. I guess we are not on this channel so much to
entertain and to provide information.
It's a diary. It's our diary. You are with us as we're trying to make it as filmmakers.
Yeah.
Or I guess what making it means, that's a whole nother conversation. But this is our personal diary where we share our insight and our movies with people
and our experience.
We're not out here saying like, we know all the tricks. This is how you do it. This is how the world is. We got a lot to learn. So, take everything we say with a grain of salt.
Except for all of our like 5 tips videos. Those are
that's the gospel.
Hard and true.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on. So Hollywood.
We've said this sentence, what you're about to say, we've said so many times this episode.
Is it dead?
Say it one more time. Yeah, is it dead?
I guess
that's for you to decide.
Oh, snap. Yeah.
Listener. I was about to say viewer. Listener.
That's very true. It's all your opinion, but this is just our opinion.
Your opinion, man.
Yeah.
Said by a Hollywood person.
Let's do you have anything more to add to the whole Hollywood thing? I mean, I think we've talked so much, but there's also so much more ground to cover, I think.
Yeah.
That we could say, but I guess if you had one last thought on that subject.
I think we covered it well.
Okay. Let's transition smoothly
into an outro.
Well, not an outro. I think if they've stuck with us this long, let's give them a little taste. First 2 things. First thing.
Yes.
What are we working on creatively?
Oh, you made it this far. You get a little extra.
What's going on right now in terms of what we're working on?
Well, if y'all haven't heard, I'm working on this little movie called The Bell Rings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in post-production on that right now. I'm editing. It's going very well. Pretty much every night, if I'm editing past 11 o'clock, I have the deep urge to leak stills from the movie that reveal way too much.
Uh-huh.
And then I talk myself off the ledge of posting them, and I don't. That I pretty much just live in that tension fully every day.
I can relate.
I'll just, because it's always a pain to like try and find shots. So what I've started doing is, because when we do promotion stuff, we'll usually share bits of the movie or posts, like stills. So I'm trying to, like, as I edit scenes, grab shots that stand out to me now.
Yeah.
So that way I'm not having to hunt for them later.
It's a good call.
So I have a big fat folder on my computer right now of all these great bell ring stills. So
nice.
I'm working on that. And then I'm also like starting research on my next feature film script.
Nice.
So I'm just jumping into that this week.
Are you at liberty to say now what that next thing is, or are you playing it close to the chest this early?
I'm playing it close to the chest this early.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all.
All right. Yeah.
What about you? What are you working on, Mr. Ross?
As people know, I've been working on Two Little Ghosts for a little bit. It is 99.999% done.
Yeah.
I think the way I just explained it to Dan Lotz from 922 Films is, I've written my essay. I just need that last sentence to finish it.
Send it home.
And it's that last sentence relies on someone else. So there's a song that appears in the end of the movie, which I just need to get together with our actress, who we got to record that song, record the vocals on it, and then I drop it into the movie, and then it's done. And so I'm trying to figure out a time to do that, trying to schedule that. In that movie, it's about an hour and 6 minutes long. It's a horror. Not a horror. It's a Halloween movie.
Yeah.
Halloween fantasy, I guess, be the best way to put it. I think you're the only one who's seen it.
That's right, I am.
Or like that, and that was an older,
I saw
older version.
Yeah, I know what changes have mostly been made to it.
Yeah,
but
it's more or less the same movie.
Yeah,
same idea. And what that one is about, I mean, I'll I like to play it close to the chest. But it is
more fun that way.
Halloween fantasy movie. It's really, really fun. Took a lot of work. I learned how to animate doing it, which is a lot of fun. And so stay tuned for that. But also, I just started this week, well, actually not this week, last week technically, working on my next feature film.
Nice.
Which the tentative title is Rosaluna, Witch of Halloween, which is, as you can tell from the title, it's a Christmas movie. No, it's a Halloween movie.
Thanksgiving movie. Nice, you're really cornering the market.
Yeah. That one's going to be a lot of fun. It's about a witch and Halloween. So what I've been doing for the past week is I've written several versions of the script.
You were working on this one for a while, technically.
Yeah. I started it a long time ago. I don't know if 2020 or 2021 was when I first wrote the first draft.
I feel like I remember you talking about it at one point during 2020, but I couldn't.
It might have been. Yeah, it might have been earlier. So that's a movie where been working. There's several drafts that exist of the script, but I just finally started working on like the next version of the script, and so my goal is to, by the end of January, maybe beginning of February, have the shooting script finished, and all ready to go, so that way we can start planning. The idea is to shoot it during the summer. Fingers crossed it's released by this Halloween. We'll see. And yeah, it's been fun. It's about a witch. Oh, did I say what it was about?
I mean, you just said it's
Witch
theme, like Halloween.
Halloween. Oh yeah, and so with this new version of the script, that's all I got on this. The new version of the script, I've kind of been classifying it in my head as like a kid's Halloween movie, but it's not like Disney Channel kids, like
It's
Coraline,
cool kids.
Coraline or Paranorman. Those are kids movies.
Yeah.
Something like that. Paranorman mixed with Harry Potter would be like a good tone kind of to think of.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. There's going to be some animation in it.
Ooh.
Going to be some Halloween decorations. Going to be some...
Sounds like a classic Doom production.
Some witches, perhaps.
Witches? Which witches?
And so, yeah, that's... I just started work, or I guess last week, started working on the script a little bit. The final script, and...
It'll be out in time for Christmas.
Yes. Yeah, and that's where we're at. Yeah.
Gearing up for the year.
Gearing up. It's exciting. It's gonna be a fun year. And the other question, the actual last thing to end on. What have you been watching? It's one cool thing you saw in the last week.
Okay, I saw two cool things in this last week. First,
Okay.
I'll start with the lesser one. Well, okay. So I won't rank them because I like both of them. It's like they're both great. So I watched a lot of Community this weekend.
Yeah.
Which I just started because I got my COVID booster shot, and it just absolutely wrecked me. And so I just stayed in bed all day and watched Community.
Nice.
Which was a good time. And a little bit of Seinfeld, but mostly Community.
That's been in your watch list for a long time.
Yeah, it has. I'm a big fan of 2000s comedies like those, and so it's been a long time coming.
It's so bizarre because I remember being in middle school, and NBC had their Thursday night like comedy night thing where they would show like, I think it was like no, that was ABC. It was Community, The Office, Parks and Rec. I think it was those three shows. There might have 30 Rock. I think 30 Rock was another one, and I think Community was always in that lineup. So I was watching The Office live. But then I think Community was just before or just after, so I would happen to watch it. Mm-hmm. And through watching it live, I was like, oh my gosh, this show is actually really good and this is funny.
Yeah.
I like this.
I've been really into it.
Back in the day when it was like, you discovered a show on TV.
Yeah.
Like
we sound
broadcast
like old people.
I know, but no, it's... I prefer the streaming stuff so much more. It's so much more reliable and convenient, but
finding a cool show on TV when you're hunting for them, that's a rewarding feeling.
But also you saying you've just started watching it. I'm like, when did I just start watching it? Oh my gosh, I watched that when it was coming out in like 2009 in middle school.
Yeah.
Having to the time was messing with my brain there.
Yeah.
What was the other thing you watched?
Void Man.
Void Man.
Need I say more? The
Yes, you
crazy
do.
long,
Yeah.
the crazy long movie from Australia. Okay.
Mohat.
Our boy,
Yeah.
who we actually haven't chatted with too much in person. It's only been through Twitter and stuff. But he's ours. No. What was I going to say? Oh, this is so off topic. I've been really like, I want to go to Australia at some point, but I've always been like, man, the spiders. The spiders are going to kill me. My girlfriend lived in Australia for a year, and she would always tell me stories about like finding like huntsman spiders in the house and stuff, and it's been a whole thing. But in watching Void Man, which takes place in Australia, I'm like, oh, it doesn't look that bad there. Maybe I'm overthinking it in my head. You don't see the spiders in the film, so
yeah, you see the gangsters killing each other in the street and like sex trafficking.
Sounds like a nice place over there in Australia.
Yeah.
No, but Void Man's been super cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What about you? What have you been checking out?
Oh geez. In terms of, I recently just got the Smallville 20th anniversary.
Wow,
Blu-ray.
Smallville, such an old show. When that come out in like 2004.
And that kills, because I watched that one live too. That was my show back in the day. And
you know what? Okay, I'm gonna tell you an embarrassing Smallville story of mine from when I was a kid.
Oh no!
So when Smallville was airing on the CW, I saw commercials for it all the time because I would watch like Kids WB, which was on CW, and whenever I saw trailers for it, it was particularly when I think it was the first season. That's where he's like on the boards. He has like the chest, like the S.
That's
spray painted on
season 1.
Yeah, season 1. When that was coming out, all I saw in the commercial was him with the S on his chest, and I was like, are they ripping off Superman? And I thought it was a knockoff show.
Oh my gosh.
Because he never wore the suit. So I was like, he's not Superman, but why does he have the S?
Oh my
gosh. And I thought also that it wasn't spray painted. I thought it was like a scar.
Oh, okay.
Like it was implanted into him. So I was very confused when I watched Smallville the first time, and it was not a scar on his chest.
Ah, I see.
Very confused.
Yeah, very, very amazing show.
Great show.
For my money, I think it's like, when I think of like the definitive live action Superman in terms of encompassing every single nuance of Clark and Kal-El's character, I think is Smallville. I think it does the best at like the character work.
In 9 seasons, you better cover a lot.
I know, 10 seasons.
10 seasons.
Or was it 9?
I don't.
No, yeah, it was 10 seasons.
What does your thing say over there? You have all the other DVDs later. I think it's 10.
It's 10.
Yeah.
Big show. Great character work. And if you're a huge Superman fan, you haven't seen it, like, check it out.
Are you a Superman fan?
A little. He's all right.
He's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, that shows, and it's funny because when I go back and watch it, there's that thing of like, I like this as a Superman fan, but how do I like it as a filmmaker? And there's some stuff in it that is a little dated in terms of like film, like TV, like production wise.
Especially TV back then, where the budgets were tiny.
But also when you look at a lot of the stuff, it's like they pulled off some really impressive stuff on a TV budget.
Yeah.
Like all the explosions, all the stunts, all the technology for those visual effects.
Yeah.
I mean, the visual effects, some of them hold up, some of them don't, but like it's still always impressive.
Yeah.
Like whenever like they do like bullet time on a TV budget, they do all these crazy effects. I mean, whether or not the quality, like you can believe the quality of it, buy into the, how real it looks, doesn't matter. It's always impressive what they were able to pull off. And there are some great, like, from a technical standpoint, like film, like storytelling wise and everything. There's some great editing in that show and great filmmaking involved. Where I think it's pretty easy to dismiss like a network television show from the 2000s as like, oh, it's just this, it's just that. But I think there's some good stuff in there. Yeah. It's got a great pilot episode.
Yeah.
The pilot episode's awesome.
Man, I need to go.
So
At
good.
some point, I need to go back into Smallville.
So
it's
good.
been a couple of years.
I just started season 2.
2017 was the last time I watched Smallville.
It's a long time.
It's been a while.
I've seen that show maybe like 7 times through a whole bunch. And that's not counting like the episodes that I've seen like just on their own a whole bunch and all that. But yeah, very, very good. I like it a lot. Aside from that, I rewatched Metropolis.
I've never seen Metropolis.
It's very good. I like it. Very different than Smallville, but it was good. And with that,
that's probably a good place to end it.
That's our podcast for the week.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for listening. It's been great having you along on this crazy journey.
If you enjoyed it, check out our YouTube channel. You can check out our videos every Wednesday. You can check out our playlist of feature films. And also, we have a merch store.
Yes, we do.
The link will be in the description of our YouTube video. But you can go to our Linktree, social media. You'll find our store. We got some cool shirts, hoodies, posters. Great stuff on there that you can check out if you really want to support us and get some cool gear as well.
Yeah. Represent the Doomed Squad, the Doomed Nation.
There is a Doomed Crew shirt that we are both wearing. Very comfortable.
I love this shirt. I love this fabric.
It's good fabric, very simple, and it makes it like, I mean, I know it's hard to collaborate with us when we're across the world, but you know,
if you wear this shirt
on
on set, you have to credit us.
No. It's a way of acknowledging that you're part of the Doomed Crew. Because I'm sure if you follow us and watch us, and if you were in Portland, you'd be down to collab with us, but we know you can't. So take the shirt, and you were an honorary member of our Doomed Crew.
And also, maybe we can find a way to collab. Who knows?
That's true.
Email us or something. We might be able to make that work.
Oh yeah. All right. Until the next episode, we'll see you later.